Awesome. It looks like everyone is back. So let's continue. Does anyone have any questions about it? Because this one's a bit of a longer example. Um, so does anyone have any questions about it that I could maybe specifically cover or talk about? That, or maybe if you guys were not able to cover it with your mentors, I could possibly just discuss it real quick. Any questions? Okay, maybe we have one. Um, I keep getting error value when I put a negative value into a variable. How do I get around this? Okay, list was not callable. Huh. I'm not sure what the callable error is. Um, in terms of the negative value into a variable, yeah, are you talking about negative index or are you talking about in a list you have a negative value? Okay, value 40 not of type int. Vote on line 14. Okay, so what I think is the value variable in ellipse, um the you're putting in a float. So if what a float is, it's a decimal number. So in the ellipse, I don't think you are able to use a decimal number. Um so I'm not like that is why you're having an issue. So okay. I meant the value of variable example, move up to offset. Uh, move offset. Let's see. So here, you have to set your move offset to 3. You should be able to set your move offset to a negative variable. Okay, 1 second, guys. Um, okay. All right, guys, I'm just gonna go over the whole example actually. Just because we're having so many questions. We're gonna go through the whole thing step by step. So, step one, obviously, we have our lists, right? What this does is it gives you the X and Y values of your actual circles. Okay, so you can think of them as like kind of like characters. Uh, so um, So these are the X and Y values. So obviously everyone knows what the setup function does. The background, very basic, just sets the background color to purple. So you guys are probably wondering what this move offset and I offset is. Okay, so what this does is it tells if the rectangles and the circles should be moving to the left or to the right. Okay, so when you click on A, what happens is the circle and the rectangles move to the left, and we click on D, it moves to the right, right? So that's why, as you know, if we go to the left on a number line, you're gonna be taking away values, right? So that's why the move offset is -3 and -8, and it's the opposite when you move to the right, it's 3 and 8, right? So that's kind of how it works. And why this value is 8 and this value is 3, because I'm sure you guys will notice the eyes of of the um the eyes of the characters will move a little bit further than the head. So that's kind of why there's a difference between these two values. Okay. So in this loop right here, um, in this for loop, we kind of already know how many times we want to run this. So it runs it for the length of X list. So up here we have this X list. So this will be applied to every single circle. Like what's happening down here will be applied to every single circle each time, right? So obviously this is the fill of the circle and the circle will start over here, right? It starts at the X list and Y list, whatever those two values are, right? And then here, uh, what happens is the left eye and the right eye, just for placement purposes, we are taking the left eye from center, it goes back 13, and the right eye goes up 8, right? So center's around here. So that's kind of how that one's set up, and the eye values are I just the IY values, I think. Yeah, okay. The IY values are less than Y list minus 30. So I think it goes from here, and then so the I values are down here. But yeah, I feel like these are just to set up the I values in comparison with the circle. Same thing. And then what this basically does is it changes the value of the X list. So here, what we're doing is we're accessing this list value up here that's already been saved. And I'm sure you guys remember, like we can reassign values inside of a list using their indexes. We talked about this last class. So what we're doing is we're changing like, let's say we have the A value clicked each time while the A value is clicked, this draw function keeps on running and it keeps making the A value either move up or down, right? So when these A value changes, it changes the value of the circle. So then the circle will move as well, right? Um, but yeah, okay. Now that I've kind of covered the example kind of simply, um, we are just going to talk about negative index. So I'm not sure why you'd have a negative. Oh, okay. So mine kept saying the list was not callable. So make sure that your list is inside of like your function up here. Maybe if you put your list down here, or if you put your list inside of the setup function, you could be getting that issue. Okay. Um, that would probably be the main reasons why you would get that issue. Let me just give it a try and see if I'm able to replicate it. So this is what happens if you put your list inside of the Okay, see, so I guess it's very similar to the error that you're getting. X list is not defined. So that could be one of the issues. I'm not sure. Um, I keep getting an error when I put in a negative value into a variable. How do I get around this? Variables should be able to accept negative values like we just did here. It should not be an issue. Okay, ellipse value 40 in float on line main pipe 14, line 14. I'm not sure what you have on line 14. I'd have to look at it. I mean a value of variable EX example. Okay. Is X the name of your list or an integer? X is X is X is the values of the circle, like the circle X values. Name of the list. Okay, could someone please put the code into the chat? Figure it out, thanks. I think it was just an indentation error on my side. Okay. All right, awesome. So everyone figured out all their problems. It looks like everybody was able to do it. Let me copy and paste this code into the chat so you guys can try it out. And if you guys are having any issues, this is the correct code. Sorry, I'm just gonna try to copy it. 1 second. Everyone in meeting. Okay. Okay, so now I copied and pasted the code into the chat. If anyone's interested, they can give it a shot. Okay, let's move on to the next one. All right. Oh. All right, we're going to be talking about another type of loop called a while loop. So this is very simple. Um, so so a while loop is like eating food off a plate. So we start by eating food off your plate. While there's still food on your plate, you can take another spoonful. Once there's no food on your plate, you put your dishes away. So what that basically means, we don't know how many, like how a while loop is very useful in comparison with a for loop is many times we don't really know how many times we have to run a piece of code, right? So we use this while loop to either run a piece of code forever, depending on the process, or we use it to run it until a certain condition is met. Okay, so how do we kind of use them? So for example, if we wanted to make a simple loop that counts to 10, we could just simply do this, right? So we can set a variable of I is equal to 0. And while I is not equal to 10, we can print it out. And then in the same loop, we'll add a value, we'll increment I by 1. So eventually, this statement of I is not equal to 10 will eventually become false. And that is like, you can think about it like a sentence, like while true, do this. And then once it's false, then it doesn't do that anymore, right? So here we kind of have this chart that kind of symbolizes it. And this idea very simply. But here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you guys an example because I feel like I like those much better. So here what we're doing is I have a simple counting function, as you guys just saw over there. We have the value set to 1, and while count is less than or equal to 5, it will do is it will print out the value of count. So the first value of count is 1, like as you know, because the first time we go into this while loop, we have not incremented 1, all right? So the value of 1 is going to be whatever is in here. And the value of count will be whatever's like initialized, and it will stay like that until we increment it by 1, okay? So, and it goes through here, it increments by 1, okay? Now the value is 2, it goes back up to the top, right? And now it checks, hey, is this count value less than or equal to 5? 2 is less than or equal to 5, so this is true. So while true, we'll keep going. We're going to print it out again. And this goes on until we get to 5. So you print out the value of 5. So the count value is equal to 5. Then count is equal to 6 now. So it goes up, it goes in here. So is 6 less than or equal to 5? No, it's not. So then we cut the loop and we move on to the next block of code. So that is a very basic way to kind of explain while loops. All right. So now let's kind of go through a couple different cases where while loops kind of can cause you problems, right? So there's this idea of an infinite loop, okay? So in the slides, as you guys can see, what would happen if we ran this piece of code right here? Can some people put their guesses in the chat, or like why that would be the case? Runtime error? No, it wouldn't be a runtime error, I think. Okay, so number never changes. Yeah, so that's very yeah, exactly. It runs forever. So yeah, so this one will actually run forever. It won't give you an error. Like let's say you do try to run it, it won't give you an error. So here it says do not run this code. I'm gonna run it. So here what we have right here is very simple, like similar to the last example I covered in the trinket. What this is an online Python compiler. I just like using this one. This is just a personal preference. I just like the color scheme or whatever. And I find it's more clean and easier to use. But you can run this on Trinket as well, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is very similar to our last example. But what we basically did is remove this count, like making it like higher count. When we run it, look at this, right? So it keeps saying count is equal to 1. Count never becomes less or equal to 5. And it doesn't actually give you an error. I know one of the students said, hey, you're going to get a runtime error. You're not going to get a runtime error. It's just going to run forever. Okay, let me just clear this so it stops running. Just a quick note, if you guys do end up coding Python on your computer and you run loops like this, what will happen is your computer might just get a little bit warm, but it shouldn't be a big deal. It depends on like it's not really that big of a deal to be honest with you. But yeah, just in case, like your fan might turn on. Um, okay, awesome. Let's move.
Carrot.
Sorry?
Oh,
Uh,
my bad.
looks like okay. All right, awesome. Let's continue. Um, okay. So here what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over a quick question in Top Hat. Please have a look at this question carefully. I'm not sure if I'll give the answer out immediately, for this one. So just make sure to answer properly based on your personal knowledge and idea. Assign homework. Okay. Okay, so I've assigned this question for you guys to do on the top hat, so you guys can see if you guys have a good understanding. Okay, so let's kind of talk about this while you guys are answering. Um, Hopefully you guys are able to answer. It doesn't look like anyone has answered just yet. Um, okay, so let's kind of go through this loop. So this is very similar to the example that I covered before. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to avoid creating um, an infinite loop, right? And we what we want to do is we want to reach the number 10. Um, so how would we do that? So obviously you have to move up. So that's just a small hint. You definitely don't want to be moving down in the opposite direction since we started at 0. Um, so that's just a small hint in terms of which one you guys want to choose. So don't choose one with a negative sign in it. That'd be my advice. Awesome. Okay. So I'm gonna actually close the top hat. If everyone was able to answer, we got a good number of responses for sure. So I'm just gonna assign and go over this unassign and go over the solution. Okay. So here is the solution. So here what I have is a bunch of different all the options here that you guys had available to you. So here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run this one first. So the plus one, let's see what it does. Okay, I did not indent this properly. Uh, Wait, what? Okay, for some reason, I think when I copied and pasted the code, if you guys ever run into that issue with an indentation error and it looks like you guys indented it. In case you guys copy and pasted code, just make sure to like redo the indents in your text editor. Anyway, okay. So here what it does is it prints out until 9 and it stops. So that was the correct answer. But we'll go over some of the other ones real quick, just so you guys can understand that those would create an infinite loop. Create slash. All right. Okay. So here what we have is another example. And as you guys can see, this would create an infinite loop because it keeps going away from the original value. And as you guys can see, it doesn't actually ever stop running. So it doesn't give you any errors. It doesn't give you anything like that. It just keeps on going in the opposite direction of where you want it to go. So anyway, let's go to the next one. Same concept with this one. It just changes the value of 5, -5. So I think I should get an indentation error on this. Yeah, because I indented it wrong. Okay, now it should be good. Same concept, it goes in the wrong direction. All right, I hope you guys kind of understood that. I'm gonna stop running this one here. Okay, so how are while loops useful? So for loops, this kind of tells you the difference between a while loop and a for loop and when you kind of should use them. So while loops, as many times will tell you you don't need to know how many, sorry, for loops will repeat as many times as you tell it to, you do need to know how many times you want it to actually run, right? So that's really important when it comes to for loop is having an idea of how many times it needs to run. Um, and then a while loop, it repeats until a condition is false, and you don't know how many times it's going to run. It could run forever, or it could not even run once, right? So you never know. I mean, you do know depending on the conditions and if you meet the conditions, right? So, and then what they both do is they're used to repeat code and they're using multiple lists, right? So let's move on. So what this kind of does is this prints out a simple like as you guys can see based off the image, as soon as the value of x, the value of the mouse passes past the x50 mark, what will happen is it keeps on creating these small dots, and once it goes past, it stops creating the small dots. So it's a very simple piece of code. But yeah, okay. So uh, based on this example, um, and kind of like using your guys' knowledge and stuff like that, you guys should be able to do this exercise with your mentors, working with your mentors and kind of understanding it. But so yeah, we're gonna break out into breakout rooms now. Unfortunately for this one, we might not give as much time because on the last one we used a lot. IDK Python has overflow. Okay. Okay. Um, hey Maria, do you need any help or I think your breakout room. Okay. Okay, it looks like most people are back. So we'll proceed. Was everyone kind of able to cover cover that question, or was there a lot of confusion in that quick message in the chat? I can. Yeah. This one was more straightforward. Awesome. Yeah, I'll just share the code. If you guys have any questions, just um message your person, like your mentor, and then hopefully they'll be able to support you in that regard, or just put it in the chat and hopefully one of the mentors can jump in to answer the question if they are able to. Sorry, I'm just getting the code. Mid session exercise from import. Sorry, which solution was this? I'm not sure. Maybe this one was the first one. Okay, I found it. Um, okay, hopefully this will help a little bit. Okay, now the code is in the meeting chat. Okay, awesome. We will move on then. If anyone has any specific questions, feel free to ask, even if if you guys ran into any issues. Okay, all right, let's keep going. Okay, so random numbers. So this is the last topic we're going to be covering today. So in Python, you can generate random numbers using this uh, random package. I'm going to show you kind of how you guys can use it. So you guys can, if you at the top of your code, you guys will put import random, just like you guys import processing, right? And then what it will do is when you import random, you can use the method random dot, right? And then random, which will what that will do is it will give you a random decimal number between 0 and 1, right? Which then you're probably like, what's the point of that? Like it's giving me a decimal number between 0 and 1, but you want a random number, right? So what you'll probably do, um, what you can either do is you can multiply this number by however many numbers you want. So let's say you want three different random numbers, you can multiply by three, and then you can kind of break it off. If you guys can make it into an int, then it will only keep the first like non-decimal values. But if you guys don't want to go into all that complicated stuff, if you guys are confused by that, that is totally fine. It might make more sense later on. I might do an example a bit later. But what you guys can do is you guys can use this random int method of the random package. It gives you a random whole number between the two numbers that you put in. So in this case, let's say you put 0 and 3, it can print out 0, 1, 2, or 3, right? So by inclusively, it means that it includes the two numbers that you put in, right? So hopefully that kind of helped. Okay, so I'm gonna go over a quick example right here, which basically kind of shows you this random uh, random functionality. Hopefully you guys can see the code. So here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run this piece of code. Here I imported the random package, and then I used that same method that you guys saw, rand int. and I put two values in. So what this would do is it'd give you a random number between 1 and 10 inclusively, right? So in this case, when I ran this code, it gave me a random value of 10. Um, and it gave me a random value of 10 in this random number variable, and I printed it out 3 times. So let's say you want a couple different random numbers. You guys can actually use the same variable and keep calling it to generate random numbers. So this is actually going to stay constant, okay? Like once you guys use the random int variable, you guys can only use it once. Um, and then it's like a constant. Like I see some people get confused because they think what this does is this basically like anytime you call a random number, like uses variable, it gives you a random value. Like some people kind of think like that. So sorry, I have two messages in the chat. I'm quickly gonna just oh, add it below. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so but yeah, so some people think that if you just use this random number variable and you call it multiple times, you'll get different numbers each time. That is not the case. If you do want different numbers, what you have to do is you have to make another variable and use that same method, but you probably get a different number. So in this case, I printed this number out, use the same variable 3 times, so I got the same three values. But if I use like different variables, like random number 2 and random number 3, then I should get, wow, fingers crossed, I should get different numbers. Yes, I did. Okay, sick. Um, so yeah, so my first random number is 2, my second random number is 10, and third random number is 9. So I'm just making sure you guys don't have that misconception that if you guys just use a random number variable, you guys will get a random number. Okay. But you guys can use it in a loop to generate random numbers. I think that would be an effective way. Okay. So let's continue with the slides. Um, in the slides, it kind of has this example of using this random int functionality to make these randomly sized circles. Uh, I kind of tried it out, but unfortunately, I was not able to actually make it work. All my circles were always kind of the same size, to tell you the truth. Maybe if I maybe increase the value from like 0 to 75, maybe I'd have better luck. But all of them kind of show up as the same size for me. Yeah, there's a bit of size difference, but it's not significant. So I thought that example would be better for you guys. Okay. So I'm not sure if Mehek wants to comment on this. But there is the term gala to win Ignite points and become an Ignite legend. What this gala does is it allows you to meet like other people and kind of network and just make some friends and the people you guys are talking and I guess meet us. And it kind of lets you present some of your work. And then you also can win the best presentation award. Just like this is kind of just giving you guys just some basic information about it. I'm not sure if they have exact dates, but it will be held around mid-December, hopefully around winter break.
Yeah, so I can take over for the slide. So, we just told you, the term gala is like a great chance to win Ignite points. And I believe we went over the tiered certification earlier, but we do have a slide after this that'll talk about it. But we will be keeping like one award for the presentations. As you already know, there's awards for Ignite points. So like the leaderboards, whoever is first, second, third on the leaderboards gets awards at the end of the term. But we also have this another prize for the best gala. The gala will be online. The date will be after the last session, like after our eighth session. So the weekend of the 14th. So 14th, 15th, or 16th are the tentative dates, but we'll fix one of those and let you guys know. It will be in the evening. And it's a great chance to meet industry speakers. Any questions you have for the industry, like I don't know what, like if you think you should pick comp sci or software engineering, the differences, what did the actual industry speakers pick, or like what languages are used in an actual software engineering job. All those questions you can ask the industry speakers themselves during the gala. And yeah, could you go to the next slide?
Yeah. Uh, oh, I went too many slides.
Yeah, so these are just the certification tiers. So we have Ignite Warriors, Ignite Champions, and Ignite Legends. So the Ignite Warriors, if you attend 6 out of 8 sessions, you get the very basic Ignite Warriors certificate. If you complete 6 out of 8 assignments and attend 6 out of 8 sessions, you get the Ignite Champion certificate. And for the Ignite Legends, you will have to complete 6 out of 8 assignments, attend 6 out of 8 sessions, finish the final project. You'll get the details for the final project near the last few sessions, and then also attend the end of your gala. The so you don't have to present at the gala to get the Ignite Legends certificate. You only have to attend it, but we highly encourage that you present it. It's a great way of like, breaking into hackathons and competitions like that. Um, are there certificates physical? Right now we only award online certificates for the online session since the gala is not in person. We cannot really award physical certificates, but we might do that starting next term. Does assignment refer to both exercises or just one? So both of them. So like for Bug Busters, there's 2 exercises. You need to finish both of them to get the certificate. Are there any other questions regarding the gala or their certificates? If not, I'll pass it off back to you for the assignments.
Okay, awesome. So as you guys know, we are at the end of the lecture kind of. So these are the exercises that you guys kind of have to do. I'm sure you guys have access to the presentation, so you guys will be able to understand it. But basically for these two ones, it shouldn't be too difficult. In terms of the circle ones, just yeah, it uses the same functionality as you guys used for the moving the circles back and forth, except you're gonna change the diameter values instead. Um, but yeah, it shouldn't be too bad. You guys are pretty creative, so I think you guys should be able to do this. Um, sorry, my computer's glitching out. But yeah, these all look really like a lot of cool projects. I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna have a lot of fun doing these. And if you guys want to have some fun and challenge yourself, you guys could try these two examples as well. Awesome. This is where you guys make submissions. Uh, all this information is available on the presentation slides. And I think that's the end, guys. So that is the end of our session, I think, right? Thank you guys
Yeah,
for staying up.
we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for attending.
Does an assignment refer to both exercises or just one? So assignment, I guess, is both. Like for example, if you're doing bug busters, then you do the two for bug busters, and if you're doing Pythonic lava, you do the two for Pythonic lava, I believe.